Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're here for our Sewer Pack Annual Commission meeting. Today's Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. We do have a quorum. First item on our agenda today is roll call. Roll call is going around. For those that are joining remotely, do you wish payment? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Very good. Next up is welcome and remarks from the chair. What I'd like to first do is introduce to you the village president, Jeff Knutson. Welcome.
I want to welcome you all to the village of Pewaukee. I hope after the meeting you'll have a few minutes to take a walk downtown or drive downtown. We have some nice restaurants and a couple of nice businesses down there if you're hungry or thirsty. And I do appreciate you being here very much. And just in case, just a quick history, this building that you're in right now was originally built as a church. We did not design it this way. So, and then after that, it became the public library of the village of Pewaukee for up until 2005, 6, 7, somewhere there, when we built a new library over there. And now this is part of our village hall. So again, welcome everyone, and I hope you have a good meeting. This is the first one I'm attending, so I'm very excited to see what goes on. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to stand for my welcome remarks. I have a few to share with you. During the annual meeting and when we move around to other counties, we invite the county executive or administrator to say a few words. But on behalf of Waukesha County Executive Paul Farrow, I'd like to welcome you to the annual meeting in Village Hall, Pewaukee Village Hall. He is not able to be present this afternoon, though he sends his remarks. County Executive Farrow would like to extend a welcome to staff and commissioners for having the annual meeting here in Waukesha County, and to thank you for the important and vital work that you do for the region. As many of you know, so I'm going to speak as a county board supervisor, but also as chair. Representing Waukesha County. As many of you know, I serve on the Waukesha County Board of Supervisors and was recently re-elected to my 8th term on the county board. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Waukesha County. And I want to share a few highlights of our county and what's going on. Waukesha County remains one of only 2 counties in Wisconsin that does not levy a county sales tax, the other being Winnebago County. We are proud of that distinction. Each year, our budget challenges become increasingly difficult, as we all know. Providing the quality services and programs our residents expect in Waukesha County while fulfilling numerous state mandates requires exceptional creativity, discipline, financial stewardship, and difficult decisions. Through collaborative leadership among our county executive, administration, department heads, county board, we have maintained our AAA bond rating in Waukesha County, and we are a low tax leader in Wisconsin. Another major milestone that Waukesha County is seeing right now is the renovation and expansion of Waukesha County Courthouse. We're very proud of the work that is being done there. It was badly needed. It's currently undergoing the largest renovation expansion and project in history. This investment will provide a safe, efficient, and modern facility that will serve our community for decades to come. I'd like to recognize our former county board chair, Commissioner Decker, for his involvement in that through his 12 years on our county board as county board chair, as he was instrumental in helping guide with our county board staff and our county executive. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was the 3 different raises that were the most politically tough, I would say. We had one budget, and we had to go to another budget, then we had to add something to finally get it over the finish line. I think anybody on the county board can understand that.
Yes, and it's been done in phases, and we're We're approaching one of the final phases and entrance is actually going to change. So if any of you visit our Waukesha County Courthouse, starting after June 30th, you'll need to go on the administration side of the building, not the regular courthouse entrance. I'd also like to highlight one of our community's great assets, and that's Waukesha County Airport. I have had the privilege of serving as chairman of the Waukesha County Airport Operations Commission for the past 22 years. It's been a lot of fun. I continue to serve as chair of that commission. We have 5 commissioners and we've seen it through all kinds of progress. It's the largest general aviation airport in the state of Wisconsin. Many people don't know that. With more than 260 aircraft based at the airport. More than a decade ago, we transitioned airport operations under the which was huge for us because we were able to utilize efficiencies, collaboration with Public Works and save on costs. By bringing those services such as ground maintenance and snow removal in-house, we are now entering our 5th year consecutive year without requiring a single penny of tax levy support for the airport operations. Way back when I first started on the commission, we were about $400,000 of tax levy went to airport operations. In fact, this fiscal year, we anticipate a budget surplus of more than $50,000. We have also received national recognition and awards for our snow removal operations at Waukesha County Airport. I'll be sharing that with the county board later this month. The airport's growth has been remarkable. We've added new hangars, completed a $1 million renovation several years ago of our terminal, reconstructed runways, and welcomed new businesses, including the 3rd Flight Training School. Currently under construction is a 400-foot runway extension mandated by the FAA to provide additional declared landing distance and further enhance safety. Upon completion, runway 1028 will be just over a mile at 6,200 feet. 10 years ago, we launched Food Truck Fridays. Friday's coming up. If you're ever in Waukesha County, I encourage you to come over between 11 and 1:30 as it's a lot of fun. Each Friday from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend, we have several food trucks, sometimes 3 to 4 food trucks. But began as a modest event, evolved into one of our most popular community gatherings. Today, we host 3 or 4 food trucks each week and welcome hundreds of visitors who not only come for the food, but for family-friendly activities, opportunities to watch aircraft operations, and displays and flyovers by the commemorative Air Force. The event has helped inspire greater interest in aviation among young people in our community. Waukesha County continues to be an outstanding place to live, work, play, and raise a family. This evening, our annual commission dinner will be held at Artisan 179. I hope to see all of you present there if you're able to. It's a wonderful restaurant overlooking beautiful Pewaukee Lake, vibrant Pewaukee Beach. I'm there practically every week, not on the beach though. I love the restaurants that are along that strip there. I look forward to our casual conversation and celebration of the tremendous work performed by Sewer PAC staff and my fellow commissioners. Together, we will continue to strengthen relationships, preserve and enhance the exceptional quality of life throughout southeastern Wisconsin and build on even a brighter future for our region. I thank you for being in Waukesha County today, and now on to our regular mission business. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that we are celebrating our 150th anniversary this year of the Village of Pewaukee. All summer long, there's going to be special events. So if you have a minute, stop in. July 3rd, we have drones over the lake, and 4th of July will be also fireworks and then other things. Rather than summer, so got to mention that.
That's great. Thanks. Congratulations on 150.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Jeff, if when they're at Artisan 179 and you look across the lake, a lot of people don't understand in Pewaukee Lake, the way it's situated, you're gonna look east, you're gonna look west. It's about 7.5 miles to the other shore. It's got several bays between here and there. But a lot of people don't, that there's quite a bit of difference in the two sides of the lake and then the different bays. At the top of the hill at the last end is also the Nagawaki Golf Course, which is a Waukesha County run golf course, which also runs it runs as an enterprise system. So there's no tax money to that golf course. And it's one of the most used golf courses in all of the state of Wisconsin. And it has a surplus that pays for itself and all its own maintenance.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. As you can tell, we have a lot to be proud of in Waukesha County. And again, as we move our commission meetings to other counties, we love to have leadership highlight their successes and their projects and what they're proud of in their respective county. Next on our agenda is consideration of our meeting minutes from the March 4th, 2026 quarterly commission meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Pitts is a motion, Commissioner Young second. Any comments or corrections? Hearing and seeing none, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you. Next up is our consent agenda. Many of you, and I've shared this in the past, our consent agenda is to bring forward items that unless you want to pull them for further discussion, we can vote on them all at one time. Today we have consideration of our standing committee reports, Planning and Research Committee and Executive Committee, which you have those reports in your packet. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion to approve. Commissioner Decker is the first. Commissioner Johnson second.
Well, now, point of discussion, I guess.
Go ahead.
I wanted to pull for commentary, the consideration of the revision to the commission's bylaws.
Okay, that's not in the consent agenda.
Okay. Make sure.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda unanimously approved. Thank you. Next up is consideration of the proposed amendments to the regional water quality management plan. We have 4 of them, and Ben, I will have you present item A. That is our community assistance report number 208.
Thank you. Our first report look at there to service area plan amendment is actually a full update. The village of Menominee Falls. So we did talk about this in detail at the May Planning and Research Committee meeting. It was recommended for adoption by the commission today at that May committee meeting. So I won't go into as much detail this evening, but I know maybe not everybody present to that meeting, or we might want to cover refreshers or actually updates on things that have happened since that meeting. So I will cover those this afternoon. So the first page I want to bring your attention to is page 3, section 122, for service area planning to the village of Menominee Falls. And again, this is a full plan update. So oftentimes when we're looking at plan amendments for a community, we're focused on adding one area to the service area. We're actually adding 2 areas here, but we're also updating information for the entire planning area, including the existing sewer service area. So that is a good opportunity for us. This plan was adopted in 1993, and there have been no full updates of this plan since. So it allows us to update information regarding wetlands, floodplains, environmental corridors, use more recent orthophotography, and as well consider things in recently adopted local comprehensive plans. So it's a great opportunity to update all of that information. Moving on into chapter 2, I'd like to bring our attention to page 10. That is section 2.3, proposed revisions to Menominee Falls sewer service area. As I said, there are 2 areas to be added to the existing sewer service area. Those are shown on map 2.1. Map 2.1 is going to be page 23 of your report. The areas to be added are in orange. The existing sewer service area for Menominee Falls is in blue. And also on this map, I want to point out a unique situation for this report. This report actually includes 2 separate sewer service areas, one for the village of Menominee Falls, one for the village of Landon. We'll talk about a few more details about that in just a minute that we covered at our committee meeting, but I'll refresh people on what's happened since then. So the areas to be added to the Menominee Falls sewer service area are again in gold or brown color, and this will bring the entire village of Menominee Falls into a sewer service area. Also, what's shown on map 2.1, Menominee Falls is actually served by 3 different wastewater treatment plants. One of those is Sussex, one of those is MMSD going to the east, and then going to the south is service to the Fox River Water Pollution Control Center, which includes a small area of Menominee Falls, but then places like city of Brookfield, parts of the city of Pewaukee, even parts of New Berlin, I believe. So it's a large area that's served. So Menominee Falls served by 3 different wastewater treatment plants, and we coordinated with all of those operators during the development of this plan update. So with the addition of that acreage, that total 2 areas to be added is about 5,240 acres. And of that, about a little over 2,000 of that is agricultural land that could potentially be developed in the future. However, village staff does not expect that maybe the northern portion of the village that wouldn't develop for some time. But I want to move on to section 2.4, proposed expanded Menominee Falls sanitary sewer service area, and actually move to page 11 and talk about population within the proposed sewer service area. So I think we had a lengthy discussion about this at our committee meeting, and the situation still exists where in late 2024, the State Department of Administration came out with new population projections out to the year 2050. We've had year 2050 population projections for some time, since about 2013, and then adopted as part of the Vision 2050 in 2016, and amended a few times after that. So we've always been able to use our regional plan population projections for DNR review. As we talked about at the committee meeting, the DOA 2050 population projection for many of our communities and our region as a whole significantly lower than what we find in Vision 2050. So as I discussed at that committee meeting, we are actively working with the DNR on how we're going to address this situation. I just had a meeting with them last week, actually, looking at some revised language generally that we may use in our plans for the time being. So this text that's under the population within proposed sewer service area is still likely to change in the future after the DNR returns us comments. But I think we can move forward with our adoption process with the understanding that there will be a need to recognize what the DOA population projections are. Just for context, the village of Menominee Falls current population as of the 2020 decennial census is 38,527. The DOA population projection is 40,554 for the year 2050. And our range, as you remember, we always have a range going from low to intermediate to high. Our intermediate scenario is just under 47,000. Our high scenario is just under 55,000. And based on our calculations, our build-out calculations of the village's comprehensive plan, if at some point in the future they become fully built out, they could accommodate just under 57,000 people. So that is in line with our population projections. It is higher than DOA's. And again, we will continue to work with the DNR on how to address that problem. Moving further down on page 11, environmentally significant lands within the proposed sewer service area. That is shown on map 2.2, kind of as an overview for the entire village. And in more detailed map, a series of maps in labeled under map 2.4. So I won't go through each of those in detail, although there's one that I'm going to highlight that we also discussed at the committee meeting last month. The map 2.2 is showing a few different things. What it's showing is in dark blue Those are the areas that are already in the Menominee Falls Sewer Service area. The light blue are the areas proposed to be added. And importantly, on this map, the dark green areas are primary environmental corridors. Those would be areas that would not be eligible for extension of sewer to serve urban development, residential, commercial, industrial, etc. And as well, in kind of the brown colors, those are the lowland portions of secondary environmental corridors and isolated natural resource areas, and those areas also would be limited for urban development that's served by sewer. Those are the highlights of that map, and again, there's more detail in the maps that are in the series under 2.4, but I do want to bring your attention to map 2.4 F, I believe is the correct map. This we discussed at the committee as well. We have used updated corridors throughout the entire Village of Menominee Falls Sewer Service area. There was one area where staff made a recommendation originally. This came out of work that was done last year. That's in section 13, so just north of Good Hope Road and the intersection with State Highway 175. You can see there's primary environmental corridor along a river there, and then there's a patch of isolated natural resource area. In our preliminary draft of this report, we connected all that as primary environmental corridor, so none of that area could be developed. That is actually a very important development area for the Village of Menominee Falls and the Tax Incremental Finance District there. So we worked with the village to come up with essentially the idea that as soon as a sewer extension review request comes to the commission, once that area is developed, we would review that area because it is potentially home to a critical species, snow trillium, and we would work with the village to relocate, and we provide them with recommendations to relocate those plants if they are actually located there. So we reverted back. We did not include the extended primary environmental corridor there. We did discuss that at a committee meeting. The village has agreed again to work with us on addressing the critical species. It is in fact there. We go and survey that at such time as the development proposal comes forward.
Sure.
Yes,
go ahead, Commissioner.
To transplant them is relatively easy to do. And
yes, we worked with our environmental staff and they thought that these would be very good candidates for transplant. And there is a community of them that's actually closer to the river concentrated there. So likely would be transplanted into that area if there are any. We don't actually know if there are any there.
You want more questions of that?
Yeah.
Can you just go again, how this fit in with, when you look at this with school districts and village districts, and I'm thinking about Landon and like north of Landon, I don't get this, how's Landon, if Landon wants to expand, is that the sewer district that they go?
So the land and sewer service area covers basically the municipal boundaries of Landon, and the Village of Menominee Falls sewer service area covers basically the municipal boundaries of Menominee Falls. So there's one variation that the land and sewer service area actually goes a little bit into Menominee Falls, which was a compromise made between Landon and Menominee Falls in the early 90s, and what Landon serves right now is the park visitor.
So when the part on the north of the Landon, that is gonna eventually be in that's not in Menominee Falls now.
That is the Menominee Falls.
It already is, in
Yes.
So you're basically staying with the village.
Correct.
This year.
Yeah, exactly. There are no further questions about environmentally significant lands. I'll move on to page 13, water quality impacts. Not be adverse impacts in implementing this plan. Moving on to page 14, I do want to highlight sections 2.6 and 2.7, wastewater treatment plant capacity and public reaction to the plan amendment. We'll kind of talk about these two together. They're very linked in this particular plan. So there was a public hearing on this described in section 2.7, starting on page 15 on February 2nd. And there were comments supplied by the Village of Landon. And they had a few concerns. One of those concerns was around the fact that Landon does have an interceptor that in particular areas to the north of Menominee Falls and to the south that are being added to Menominee Falls sewer service area. Wastewater would have to flow through that interceptor. So Landon wanted us to recognize that in this report, so we did, working with Landon and Menominee Falls, we actually created a map of that. That is map 2.5, and that's on page 36. The areas that are served by the interceptor are the hatched areas. To the north is orange, and to the south is red. Much of this will go to the village of Sussex treatment plant. And also, one other item that we needed to clarify in the text, and this is new text that you did not see at the committee meeting, is that there is not currently infrastructure in the northern area of the village of Menominee Falls to get to the interceptor. So we worked with both the village of Landon and village of Menominee Falls to come up with a kind of compromise text to talk about this. And essentially they agreed on the fact that we should just note that a selected infrastructure route in that northern area to the Landon interceptor should be cost effective. And that is certainly what the DNR would look for as well. I would also note there's an intermunicipal agreement that governs all of this. So we describe that in this section. The other item that Landon commented on through the Menominee Falls public hearing was that because they're two separate sewer service areas shown in one report, commission staff was originally going to update the corridors in the Landon area as well, which I think Landon area favors doing. We may do that in the future, but they did point out to us correctly that Menominee Falls is the one that had the public hearing, and if we were going to update corridors in the Landon sewer service area, they wanted to have their own public process, which commission staff agreed with, and I think we explained this at the committee meeting in May. So we did not update the corridor within the Landon sewer service area, so there's still old corridors from all the way back in 1990. And it is likely that we will work with the village to update those probably in the next year or so. So I think that that can take us all the way to section 2.10, including recommendation. These are the standard areas that we look for consistency with our regional land use plan, starting on the bottom of page 17. That's our first bullet. There we do look at consistency with population projections, and we are consistent with our own projections. We'll get to DOA projections in just a bit under another bullet. And we also note that we are identifying from primary environmental corridors and portions of secondary corridors and isolated natural resource areas that shouldn't have urban development encroachment. We are consistent with the land use plan. Regional water quality management plan that again identifies which wastewater treatment plants should treat the wastewater, so we're consistent there. Sussex, MMSD, and the Fox River Water Pollution Control Center. Another area where we are likely going to have some text change and are working with the DNR right now is the third bullet, consistency with chapter NR 121 of Wisconsin Administrative Code. Here is where the DNR will be looking at DOA projections, so we will probably at least need to acknowledge those projections and talk a little bit more about information related to maybe our build-out calculations of the Menominee Falls comprehensive plans, other information that the DNR can look at to say, okay, this should move forward. So again, we're actively working with the DNR on figuring out language to include in our plans there. So this text will change a little bit. And then finally, consistency with procedural requirements. The public hearing that was required was held, and the village board did adopt or approve this plan in February. So given that, it is staff recommendation that the commission formally update the village of Menominee Falls sewer service area plan as documented in this report. And is also recommended that the DNR approve this. And again, we will be working with them and then finally transmitted to the EPA for their certification.
Some of this goes into the Milwaukee Sewer District.
Correct.
And what is their capacity? I'm talking about with the 6-inch ring and stuff, and where, you know, they can close the gate or whatever. How's that, well, how is that issue?
Yeah, so the details of actually moving through the village infrastructure to the MMSD owned infrastructure and when they close their gates and how much capacity they had in the deep tunnel and stuff like that. This does not get into that level of detail about essentially the path that the wastewater would take when some of those capacity issues happen, but we do work with MMSD staff to make sure they understand how much wastewater flow would come from Menominee Falls and get their okay on the additions to Menominee Falls.
And it's more flow that's gonna go into the deep tunnel. And I mean, if somebody lives in Oyster Bay or something, and it's all heating for the same space for the deep tunnel, so we're adding capacity to the, we're adding a demand for the deep tunnel, so.
Right, ultimately, this area is in the MMSD planning area, so they are planning for that added capacity. Right, well, I should say.
I mean, well, I know, but every time it's rain, I mean, they can plan it all they want, but I mean, they gotta flow, I mean, right, am I right? I mean, they don't have, they're not gonna another deep tunnel.
No, I mean, there have been overflows when there are significant rainfall
So
events.
this is gonna potentially add to an over.
It could add.
I mean, if there is an over, if there isn't, I know, there's another 100 year flood, whatever, could add to the overflow, that's all.
It won't reduce it.
What?
It won't, yeah, we'll not
reduce it, I mean, I'm just saying, we're just saying. Okay, well. I mean, to me, there's gotta be a limit, I mean, if, you know, you wonder. How much you can add to the Milwaukee system, I mean, it's not a subject for this particular thing, but how much stuff can they? You know, oh yeah, sure, we could take it, well, yeah, it's at one, every other year, you know, but. You know, because this is bad, man, when other people.
Only when it doesn't rain.
get caught,
Only when it doesn't rain.
yeah, I mean, you know, because this affects everybody. Not me, because I'm not in their sewer district, but I.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I have a follow-up to that question then. Are we working as a regional planning commission with MMSD in Milwaukee and Milwaukee County on with these increases in capacity, how to do that in such a way that it isn't environmentally challenging?
Yeah, so our role when looking at environmental challenges is definitely looking at basically the land cover, the corridors, preserving those corridors, and we do work with MMSD as they update their facilities plan. We essentially provide them with the information around population by actually their little sewer sheds, so they can do at the facilities plan update work and then, you know, work on their specific engineering projects. So we don't necessarily work on their specific engineering projects. We do work with MMSD more closely when it comes to flooding issues. So we work with them closely there, work with them to provide the information they need to do their facilities planning, but we don't get involved in, say, the engineering of, you know, gates or modifications to deep tunnels for their actual facility itself.
Are there any concerns to that when we're looking at these plans and as Commissioner Messenger just brought up the challenge that they may have with additional capacity, with additional flow?
Yeah, so they do identify whether they can handle the additional capacity or not. If they said that we could not handle the additional capacity, we couldn't add this area to their sewer through area.
Well, it'd be interesting to see that report, you know, if they say they can have the capacity, I mean, with the, I don't know, I can understand it particularly, but. You know, it'd be interesting to have a staff review that and say, here, they have a report and they have a plan. For how they're gonna expand capacity, they just tell us, well, what is the plan? I mean, are they gonna dig another tunnel, or are they gonna?
Yeah, there is a 2050 facilities plan that MFSD does have done. We're gonna help them likely provide them with information over the next few years to do a future facilities plan. But yes, there's an existing 2050 facilities plan.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ben. This is fabulous discussion. I wonder if it would be appropriate at a time to invite Kevin Schaefer from MMSD or his staff or both to come to planning and research and perhaps give us an update on the system and how it ties externally.
Because we can plug in, you know, it's like.
I'm concerned from an economic development standpoint. Because if we continue to have these areas that could interrupt, you know, especially if there's large facilities that want to come online anywhere within that structure. And Menominee Falls has got a few projects going right now.
Yeah.
Walking Tool and some other people, so that is it's a real challenge. And when you look at Eastern New Berlin, it's the same challenge. There's two big projects, possibly three there, and that will add to that. And so it's like
That economic impact of them shutting the gates, and I'm not saying they don't have to shut them, but. When it floods in West Dallas or Milwaukee, I'm very familiar with how much it cost them, it's millions of dollars in insurance claims, and not a trivial, it's a huge number that we're dealing with. So maybe I would think it'd be great if he could come and speak to that.
Yeah, we could absolutely reach out to MMSD staff, Kevin Schaefer,
And
and
we're,
staff.
we're plugging stuff into what, great,
Yeah.
and, we have to be responsible
Like
about
coming
it.
back at you.
Yeah, we're out here, but it affects people 25 miles.
Commissioner Kimberly.
Just a follow-up question related to the deep tunnel as it relates to economic development capacity region-wide. If memory serves, since the advent of the deep tunnel, the number of free water dumps into the lake has precipitously declined over time.
Yes.
Do we know what those stats are? I know that's a random question.
Yeah, the stats, I don't remember what the pre-deep tunnel stats were, but now the stats post-deep tunnel, they're in the single digits. I think they have to be below 6, so quote me on that, 'cause I don't remember precisely, but they do have a limitation.
They're under a legal mandate about, so on the one hand, they have a law, and then the other hand, they have people's sewers getting backed up, so I mean, it's,
Commissioner Johnson, follow up.
Yep, I was just gonna say back, it's been a long time since I worked for the Department of Transportation, but MMSD has done a lot of things, example along with the zoo interchange to increase storage areas during storms and things to try and address those things. So I think the question's very pertinent and the concern is very pertinent and stuff. But I think the commission is proud of the MMSD commission has done things and probably will continue to do things, but it would be great to have that discussion and update.
thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we can definitely invite, and then they can provide you correct stats about how many incidents that they have a year. I do not remember, but you were right, Commissioner Kendall, but they are definitely reduced dramatically. And I think that would be a great presentation to have, so staff can use some outreach there.
I know we discussed this at planning and research, but just kind of a refresher, the DOA projections is that we're moving forward with recommendations while they're still working through the numbers. Will ultimately reach a point where that's resolved relatively quickly, or will it actually hold up the process if they're not ready to sign off?
Yeah, so until they get ready to sign off, it will hold up the process. We have another one of these reports that's being held up right now. We're working with them on trying to figure out language, and hopefully that language for the other report will be used at least in a short term for this report, as well as we have Jackson later on our agenda that will have the same issue, and we'll have a couple more in the works over the next few years that will have the same issue. Hopefully we'll have things resolved longer term, but it may take changes to administrative code. It may even take changes to state statutes. So kind of looking at short-term solution, what can we do? And then maybe something longer term, but the longer term may be terms.
Mr. Chair. If I can, then I think along that same line, so there's already developments planned and going on, multifamily, things like that, in the MFSD area, like Franklin or those areas. And they're being, developers already moving ahead with the idea they had a timeline, but they're being delayed because of environmental or other issues. Does this play in some of that they're worried that, again, flow capacity?
So if you're within a sewer service area, it should not be an issue. Now, certainly there are many sites in southeastern Wisconsin that have environmental constraints. When we do, again, just as a reminder, it's a sort of a two-tiered review system on our part. First, we look at the sewer service area, where those outer boundaries should be and where environmental and significant lands are within the sewer service area. And then every time either a subdivision comes along or maybe a major commercial or industrial development, our staff does a review of the site plans of those developments and determines, is that development encroaching on these primary environmental corridors and other areas that we just discussed? And if so, we work with the development team to find a solution or maybe rework the site plan a little bit to make sure that those developments do not encroach on corridors that they're not supposed to. So that's kind of a two-tiered step.
And to follow up, do we work in coordination with a timeline with the village, city, whatever, that is trying to do this, and a developer, so that we also are cognizant of not letting things get hung up, that we try to move along a timeline? It's
Absolutely, so the timeline for a review that does not have, or a site that doesn't have environmental corridors or some issue on it, or we typically do about 100 of these a year. When there are, swiftly as we can with the development teams and potentially the community, usually it's a developer or engineer firm that's requesting us to review these sewer extensions. So sometimes those can go quickly and sometimes they can take several months.
Thank you. Any further questions for Ben on this? Okay, does that complete presentation on?
That does.
So we have before you resolution 2026-06. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second by Commissioner Decker. Any further comment? Questions? Hearing none, then all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Ben? Next up is amendment to the City of Burlington Sanitary Sewer Service Area, Resolution 2026-07. Ben?
Thank you. So this is an amendment, not a full update like the Menominee Falls example where we just went through, so we don't have the population issues here. And this one is actually a little unique. Typically, when we're doing amendments, we're adding area to the outside boundary of the existing sewer service area. Here, we're not adding any area, we're not adding any population. However, it's being proposed that the primary environmental corridor boundaries within the existing sewer service area be modified through a mitigation plan. So that is what is before us today. I will explain where all this is happening in the city in maps 1, 2, and 3. But first page, turning to page 2, I'll just explain how much acreage is being lost and how much is being gained and what exactly we're doing. And this is explained in much more detail as I talked about at our May committee meeting, again, where this was recommended for adoption by the commission. There was a very detailed mitigation plan that was commissioned by the property owner and developer by Heartland Group. It impressed our environmental staff, so we were happy to see that. So under this proposed amendment, about 4% is due to a mineral extraction operation going on in the city of Burlington. And then some of that would be due to future industrial development. All of it is comprised of woodlands. And there would be either an addition or an improvement of about 70.86 acres to make up for the loss of the 41.44 acres. And I'll explain where all of that is happening on maps 1, 2, and 3. So about 20 acres would be removed for the mineral extraction. That will actually be replaced on site once the mining is finished. And this is one of the main reasons that commission staff is recommending this mitigation is for a mineral extraction that doesn't necessarily require sewer extension or a review of it. We could have this loss of the primary environmental corridor remediation done after mining might not have replaced the corridor as it was, where that is what will happen under this scenario. On site, another about 5 acres will be improved, and then off site, PEC will be added by about 22 acres to existing PEC, and another about 23, 24 acres will be improved. So with that overview of the acreage, turn your attention please to map 2. That is on page 8. This is the main site. This is where the mineral extraction is happening, and this is where the new industrial development would occur. There's 3 different things to look at on this site. Well, 4 really. The most important thing is the dark green. That's where existing primary environmental corridor is. Then you can see there's an area kind of in the northwestern portion of this site that has a blue hatch over it. That is essentially where the mineral extraction is happening. So that area, the PEC will be temporarily removed, but then replaced. The area that's a gold outline that has no hatching, blue or yellow on it, that is the area where the industrial development is proposed to occur, and the PEC would be lost from that area permanently. And then there's an area with yellow hatching right next to the blue hatching. That is existing primary environmental corridor that is of a lower quality, and it will be improved on site in the area that you see. So Again, that's about 4.85 acres.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes, when you say improving, what steps are taken to improve?
So there's a lot of detail in the mitigation plan. I do not have a copy of that with me here. It's about 80 pages long, but typically what's happening is you're working on the understory, you're removing the invasives, maybe filling in with higher quality plants, things like that.
I have a related question. There was a remediation done in Cedarburg and it lasted for 1 year, then all the invasive species moved in. I mean, remediation, when you say that, like, let's say it's mature trees.
Mhm.
Okay. Remediation is like a 10-year plan. Because if you don't do that and say, okay, we're done, and that's what the policy.
Yeah.
So that would mean to you.
Right, so the Heartland Ecological Group, the plan they presented actually has a timeline for maintenance of the site. So if it becomes overgrown with invasives and vinegar, that plan outlines how it will be dealt with. So, 1 year, we wouldn't look at a 1 year timeframe as appropriate for remediation plan. Usually there's at least a 5-year schedule, and we don't actually expect remediation to occur fully for, potentially decades, because we're talking about full trees that need to mature, but that does have to be maintained, you're correct. And that's outlined in.
So that when you say remediation, you actually mean something that happens.
Yes, correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Just to follow up then, so I know what we're doing in Waukesha County right now is trying to eliminate buckthorn.
Yeah.
As because of all the damage it does to our tree canopy and otherwise. But that's a long, it's a long process.
Mhm.
Having volunteered with some of that, that's a thorny front.
Yeah.
But it's, you have to you not only cut it out, you have to poison it out, get it out so that the trees and everything else, the good plants can re-root really, is what has to happen. And that's type of remediation has usually been relatively successful. I mean, like I said, done on the golf courses a few spots and that's worked out.
I would consider myself an expert on buckthorn remediation.
you wanted to volunteer, they
Oh, they do. They do what you volunteer.
Commissioner Jones. Ben, I was just gonna ask, on the topic, is ENR involved in development and review and maintenance, of the remediation plans?
So what will happen when we submit this to the DNR, we'll also submit along with it a couple items. One of those will be the mitigation plan that I had talked about. That'll be part of the submittal, and actually the city of Burlington has approved that mitigation plan as part of their adoption of this. The city of Burlington has already adopted this, and there was a public hearing on it last month. It was in mid-May, I believe. I actually went to it. I don't remember the exact date now. So all of that has occurred, and we will submit all of that as we submit things to the DNR, and there will also be a conservation agent that's submitted to the DNR as well.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions on map 2, and we can turn our attention to map 1. As I said, there was essentially not enough area directly on site to meet our mitigation standards. So when that occurs, we do encourage the development team to find adjacent areas to either add onto or improve existing primary environmental corridor, and that's what's going on here on map 1. This particular site is off Milwaukee Avenue, so it is kind of the northeastern portion of the city of Burlington. Again, the dark green is the primary environmental corridor. Areas to be added are in the blue hatch. And it's hard to see in this printout, so we might want to change the color when we finalize the plan, but or publish the plan, but there is a green outline. And that is the more area where we would not be adding the corridor because it already exists, but it would be improved. The final map shows one more off-site location for more addition of primary environmental corridor. That's map 3. Again, that's in the blue hatch, and the existing primary environmental corridor is in the dark green. There's another unique feature happening on this particular map. You see kind of a yellow circle or oval in the northern part of this site. That is actually, there are 2 proposed mitigations going on. That is potentially a future one that may come forward to us in the August-September meeting cycle, but it has not been approved yet by the city, and we're still working out details with the development team and the city on that. But I did want to highlight on this map that, that could occur there and modify that environmental corridor a little bit too, but that's a separate project, a separate process that's still in the works.
Commissioner Kendall.
Forgive my memory, but when such a case like this occurs, when an alternate site or an adjacent site is recommended, is it a one-to-one requirement or best practice for the amount of space or land or site that is lost? And it's a one-to-one, is it meet, is it exceed, or is it, how does that generally work?
So typically what we would want to see is a 1.5 to 1 ratio, and like for like. So if we're removing woodlands, we'd want to see woodlands replace again at that 1.5 to 1 ratio. Now, if the conditions are right, it may actually be more valuable to improve existing primary environmental corridor. So what we have in this case is more of a 1-to-1 replacement ratio, but then a high ratio of areas that are being improved. So our environmental staff worked with the development team and the city to survey these sites and came to a determination that would be a valuable way to move forward. So that's what's happening here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think that I have anything else to present in the presentation.
Very good. Is there a motion for approval? Thank you, Commissioner Pitts. A second. No split. Any further questions? Hearing none, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Next up is amendment to the Town of Norway Sanitary District, number 1, which is resolution 2026-08. Ben.
Thank you. So this was requested by the Town of Norway and the Town of Norway Sanitary District number 1, and this is very straightforward. So I think I'll flip just to map number 1. This is going to be on page 9. We note that there was a public hearing held on this. There were no comments and objection, and as well, this was adopted by the sanitary district. I believe last month or late April, perhaps. This is a very simple amendment. What's happening here is essentially there's a church that's in the sanitary sewer service area on the very south end of the district. That is all the district is in blue. This is on the south end near Highway 36. The area to be added is in a red hatch. And essentially what's happening is the church wants to combine its parcel with a neighbor parcel. However, the St. County Plans Division ordinance does not allow for a parcel to be partially in the sewer service area and partially outside of the sewer service area. So the sewer service area is being expanded so that parcel can be combined, and the church is going to use it for some of its functions and potentially like a gazebo and low population, no residents there, so we don't have to worry about the population issue in this case either. That is all I had to present. Tom, anything you want to add, or Commissioner Kramer?
Really, that's about it. Request to build a gazebo. I'll run sewer down it, and that's out of the sewer district.
Do I take that as a motion to approve? Very good. Is there a second? Commissioner Young? Further comment? Hearing seeing none, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you. Next up, and the last one, Sewer Pack Community Assistance Report number 124, resolution 2026-09.
Thank you. This is another full plan update for the village of Jackson. So again, looking at adding several areas and as well updating information for the existing sewer service area that is in Jackson. Similar to Menominee Falls, first item to look at is on page 3 of the report, section 1.2. Here we note that the first edition of their plan was done in 1985, and they did do a second edition, similar to the one we're looking at today in 1997. So this one is quite old too, and it gives us the opportunity to update floodplain information, wetlands, corridors, and look at their newly adopted comprehensive plan or amended comprehensive plan. So moving on to chapter 2, again, section 2.3, which is on page 10. The areas that are being proposed to be added to the current sewer service area are shown on map 2.1, that's on page 19. The current area is showing light blue. The areas to be added, of which there are 7, are shown in the red hatching, and they're essentially surrounding the village. So it's quite a bit of acreage, about 1,000 acres. Of that, quite a bit of is ag land, so potentially developable. That's 198 acres. So there would be all kinds of different uses based on the comprehensive plan that the village has adopted and recently amended that may happen in these areas, since there's 7 to be added, from medium and high density housing, mixed use development, commercial uses, and industrial uses, and could house an additional 4,600 people. So that brings us again to the same issue that Menominee Falls is dealing with, under section 2.4, and the subheader population within the proposed tourist service area. Again, these proposed additions would be consistent with our regional land use plan. However, they'd be significantly higher than the DOA population projections for 2050. So again, to add some context, the village's population in the 2020 decennial census was 7,185 people. DOA 2050 population projections actually shows a loss to 6,938 people. Which is not really consistent with what has been happening with growth in Jackson over the last couple of decades, but that is the population projection the DOA identified. So again, we'll probably have some text changes in here in this section as they work on.
Drive through Jackson. Wait, did you say they're saying it's going down?
The DOA says that it would go down to 6,938 people. Yeah, no, and we state in our projection, so again, we have a range of projections. Our intermediate projection for the year 2050 would be a population of 11,890. High range would be 15,000. Yeah, it's a committee in May that I did take a look at the DOE projections region-wide across all of our counties. Vision 2050 projects a population so people. So it's definitely look at our storage community. So we're projecting that half to 2/3 of our storage communities either grow or actually lose population for okay. We had always used the same methodologies in the past. This is our methodologies that the commission and the way to use a slightly different methodology and migration are treated as one ratio for the cohort component methodology that we use and is widely used across the country and probably other countries treats mortality and migration as ratios. That is the difference. Some other differences would be the state needs to use a state control portal, so they're working downwards from the state control portal and trying population addition or subtraction to counties and communities throughout the state. Yep. Go ahead.
Conversation that's taken publicly or with Jackson. Any specific consideration?
And it's in the comprehensive plan. I don't remember the details off the top of my head, but we would have been in communication with them and what we based our particular population projections on, but also that is really the basis for our population projections and our build out calculation against those projections are the uses within those areas. So what we would also do though, identify, could be, encroached upon as well. Okay, so. The what we would look at would actually be the subdivision layout, service area, and we're and disturb or isolated natural resource area, wetlands is in the Jackson Marsh, as I recall, is entirely primary environmental corridor. So we would, it is in a sewer service area. No.
And would sewer area typically have municipal water as well?
Typically it would, that is not always the case, but it is typical, yeah.
Thank you.
Those two are in the proposed sewer service area, secondary for be disturbed. Then again, it is there's a series of maps under 2.4. So kind of highlights of things in terms of what you were discussing or what we were discussing. There are edges of the Jackson Marsh that do now at least abut or move into the sewer service area, which is a good thing. That allows us to review development proposals in those areas to make sure that they're not being encroached on. Those areas are in dark green. Service area is. Page 13. Expect any adverse water quality incident shown in the particular plan. Section 2.6 wastewater treatment plant capacity. Here we do recognize, and the Village of Jackson has recognized and committed to do facilities planning because at some point before they're out of 2050, they will exceed their serve 1.69 million gallons a day on an average 6 million gallons on an average. This is they have identified that they will do place. we anticipate that they probably will not have to
Anybody, any other communities, but my community, Waukshard or
Because you have. At the beginning, we call late. And we found out, so flooding starts in Marlborough County and then into Illinois, so that's where the sub pumps go. And the other big thing here is. More pavement. Learned with a couple of developments before I left the board, and since then is now with filters, and that all was built prior to 2000.
I've heard the discussion of pre-development, which goes back before any the European settlement to the state.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Over 150 years, according to Milwaukee, so.
Yes.
He's ready for a general question. Is this, are we doing this as our organization, or are we doing it?
isn't. And so one of those is an agency when affect our with Washington County. But know that these are Washington County and what our status is.
From the pots. And we have come up with a plan, and the idea that something as simple as subdivision with some homes discharging on lawns that may refer to phosphorus adding to label piece of information, so that
We'll also have to be careful with what this kind of equipment they have. Because build up. Any-
Language modifications to chapter NR 21 Wisconsin Administrative Code bullet, you deal with population issue, and then village. Hearing in May, and the board. That to the DNR or
Move to approve resolution 109.
Comment? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Welcome back. Any opposed? Unanimous approved. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Ben. Next up, Ryan. Here's item due in consideration of functional classification of roads and beach and Western urban areas. Every year, the staff update of all roads within the areas that process. As material collector initiated following the approval by the commission in 2024. What was for the adjusted boundary. However, there are some proposed changes due to roadways that are added to the adjusted boundaries based on expanding out and essentially capturing them for roadways that were constructed time functional classification for review, and as well for existing roadways that in addition, the functional classification 150. So with that, the commission staff is requesting the commission's approval for the functional classifications as identified. Thank you, Ryan. Commissioner Rice.
How does this affect, just in general, money flows for aids, a state aid, is an impact on that?
Not necessarily, no. This in particular is used just for determining the eligibility. For federal funds themselves, as they were originally identified by Southwell, it's generally based on the amount of each of these roads.
What
So,
consequences of that?
well, one, it's federally required, so that's. It's- The main function is for the.
The commissioner raises an excellent point that would sewer pack define the difference between the post 2010 version and the post 2020 version as an extension of, we know, what I assume I heard was more roadways are included than they were before, which means in our region would be eligible for more DOT.
Well, with respect to federal funds, again, it's based on the areas and it's the populations that are within those areas, because it's a census-based type of system. So whether a roadway is functionally classified as an arterial collector or a local one,
Meaningfully.
yeah, it won't dictate that funding. And I will note, I didn't specifically identify it, but given the criteria that the census used this time around, there was actually mostly a traction of the urban area boundaries, so there's actually less roadways that are. There might be cases along the edge. They were at it, but. You know, it's like. So that's not perfect. Thank you.
Process for this education work, and why are just
We're in deal for those areas, and so WISDA works with us on that. For the rest of the state or outside urban areas, that is, WISDA works with the counties to define, the classifications in their specific areas.
Thank you. So going forward, then, you would cover what's then. They would have to go directly to the Dutton County. Under a new road. Just perhaps fine, I'm just,
Yeah.
perhaps you can go with perhaps.
Yeah, that's in the main of what we're serving and an organization, I think it was.
Mr. Chair, and maybe for executive director and deputy. We still. Have a responsibility to serve Washington County in the. Am I correct?
Just backing up, the commission has three divisions. The Regional Planning Commission, which is what Washington County with John Beck. The Area-Wide Water Quality Planning Agency, which is an EPA, Wisconsin DNR based designation. And the which is what we're discussing right now. So those two other designations still require that we plan for and undertake certain activities within that geographic area. So for the sake of this conversation, the West Bend urban area, we will continue to serve as that area's metropolitan planning organization at this time.
Very good. But Ryan, that's recommendation. Yes, the recommendation is to adopt the functional classification for the identified in the day. Thank you. Is there a motion for approval? Thank you, Commissioner Holloway. Second. Second. Thank you, Commissioner Rowett. Any further comment? Go ahead.
Question, you had mentioned, you sent one over, so traffic counts are there any data that is utilized with that, does that play into
Yeah.
this designation? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So WisDOT continuously collects traffic data, throughout the region. Some continuous, some every 3 years, some every 6 years, but data had been updated since last time we had done a review, and so that we had looked at the traffic volumes and then made some adjustments based on that.
Does that affect as far as the funding then? Or is that
No.
just one of the known groups?
It's part of the criteria
Okay.
in classifying the roads.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I only have one comment, and our resolution needs to be corrected on page 2 for the planning commission meeting held on 17th day of June 2026. On the resolution of this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you. Next up is a review and consideration of the commission's budget for calendar year 2027. And we have Ben and Stephanie here. You all know Ben and Stephanie. I will let them begin with their presentation.
Okay, officially good afternoon. And in recognizing the time and the importance of this item, we'll try to briefly introduce some overarching elements and then have Ben speak to some detail. It is important for us to begin with a refresher about trend lines and year-to-year budgets for the commission. The commission is not with a static or ever slightly increasing set of revenues year over year. Our revenues fluctuate from year to year, sometimes up, sometimes down, based on our program areas and our recurring planning and services. So for example, what you will see in this budget proposed for calendar year 2027 is a reference to calendar year 2026 with a higher total amount of revenue. When you look at tables like table 4, which details those revenues, you will see changes are largely programmed like our ortho imagery program. So the commission conducts that program not every year. So in 2027, we are not collecting revenues nor spending those revenues in the ortho imagery program. There are a few other program areas that represent that difference or decrease from calendar year 2026 to calendar year 2027. So I wanted to start there just as an overview that it isn't a bad thing that you're seeing a smaller budget for 2027, and it's reflected in those program area examples. So I'll start there and I'll turn to Ben for any items that you might have specifically for the commission.
I think the only item that I would highlight is one of the things that you just talked about, areas of work that we've completed. So we will have the chloride study completed by the end of this year. We were getting federal funding to partially fund that chloride study. I think like 2 years we got around $173,000 annually to do that. So it's an example of we're finishing. Hopefully we'll have a similar type of plan that we'll begin work on in a couple of years with a major update to our regional water quality management plan. We're currently working on a prospectus for that update that we did get grant funding to do through the DNR. That work will be completed this year. And then we then 2027 looking at if we are going to actually fully update that plan, how might we find the funding to do that? Some of that would be internal through our county charge that we receive on an annual basis, but we would hope some would be external too. So exploring those options and hopefully we'll be able to get work on that in 2028, although that is yet to be determined.
Point also to table 4 again, which is the detailed revenues by source, to expand on something that Ben just will do his remarks, that we have been maintaining the reserve fund. You can see in the line items of table 4, where in 2026, we applied our reserve funds And for example, you'll see reserve fund parenthetically next to the 2026 ortho imagery. You will see it next to the fluoride study. And you will note that for the fluoride study, it's listing only as using that reserve fund in 2026. Because it's been just relayed, we are wrapping that study up in this calendar year. So for 2027, and I know the chair that there may be some comments around the table very soon. I see some questions formulating. I will say that for 2027, you will see an application of our reserve fund that is forecasted closer to $350,000, which is less than what we applied or held in 2026 for using from our reserves. And that reserve fund $350,000 hold is listed in the bottom of table 4 as its own line item. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the reserve fund and the difference in where it's showing in revenues from 2026 to 2027.
Go ahead.
Perhaps there may be specific questions from around the table, so I will turn it to you to facilitate those.
I'd like you to just complete your presentation on this first, and then we'll have questions brought forward.
Very good. So before I go to the next topic within the budget to highlight that we have any remarks about this.
Nothing additional.
Okay. So I would also like to highlight that when you go to the very last page, and these are 12 pages overall, but this would be page 8 as listed in the footer. Oh, let me get that for myself. Table 14. We often historically referred to the regional charge as a tax levy. And so you will see that nomenclature applied to table 14, that the allocation of the regional tax levy to counties explains what we are looking at this budget to approve and then inform to each county of what their charge would be for 2027. And you can see the change from 2026 to what we are proposing for 2027 in that final column. To undertake this process, we did first remove from the total regional charge Washington County. So it's important that you know, as commissioners representing your local areas, that we did not take what Washington County would have been charged and prorate it or spread it across. We took that out entirely. So the other counties who will see a regional charge are not seeing any additional monies that we would seek to collect from that county. That is very important. So if you have questions or clarifications about that, please let me know. So table 14 shows you the difference between what each county was charged for this year and has paid and what we would propose for this budget. So with that, I'll ask Ben if you have any additions to that topic.
Nothing additional.
Okay. So with that, we may have other questions about expenditures, but I will close by saying that our leadership staff, Eric Lind, who was here but did have to leave for a conflict, Chris Hebert, who is on leave right now and is a heavy amount of lifting with this budget, and Ben McKay put together the pieces that are behind this to bring to you today, and I just want to acknowledge them for that. So Ben, do you have anything overall that you'd like to state about the budget before we turn?
I think overall, like I said, would like to recognize Chris as well. This is something obviously that Libby had done for many, many, many years. Chris took it on. He was excited to take it on and he was able to do it. Good job of putting this information together to this meeting.
Very good. So with that, we can turn to questions.
Thank you, and I'll just make a comment to the commission that through the budget process and the leadership staff as they were formulating this and collaboratively working together in the absence of Libby, who had been with the organization for 34 years, this was a lot of her work. They work exceptionally well. I was in contact weekly as they went through this, and I received updates and explanations on how they developed the budget and the tweaks that were made, and therefore I, as commission chair, am in approval of what you see today. The explanation that Stephanie just gave on the Washington County charge being removed, that's very important. I reassure you that we are not passing on any additional charge levy to another county. That was very important. That was raised at many of the meetings, if not all of our meetings with the other 6 counties that I was part of, several of them with our executive director, meeting with county executive or county administrator. And they were relieved to know that we were not going to be doing that as well. So they've already been made aware of how we're going to handle this going forward if Washington County had not come forward to rejoin. And I am in full confidence that this is one of the best budgets that could be brought forward, given the circumstances. And I'll open it up for questions now.
I think first would be just kind of a point of correction. It looks like every single percentage average is incorrect at the bottom of each table. Then I guess the clarification in my head was regional support and the table 2 summary of revenue source. I'm guessing that deficit is reflective of Washington County leaving.
Partially,
Okay.
yeah, partially. So again, we have less utilization of reserve fund, which I don't know is reflected here, but we also have, with the ending of the chloride study, we will not have that $173,000 that we were getting annually to help us fund that. And as well, we will not be as $78 million doing things like orthophotography in this particular year, although that will come back in future years.
Then my last question was, Stephanie, I think at our last meeting, we discussed some potential revenue opportunity in the range of $180,000. Where is that reflected in here?
So there are, that discussion was an example of projects that are concepts at this point
Okay.
that may not be included in something of recurring funding that we forecast, where there's certainty such that we can forecast it and propose it. So that money is not in here.
Obviously it's concerning, but I commend you on the fact that you guys got it as good as it's gonna get.
Mr. Chair. Yes, go ahead.
Stephanie and Ben, I think we talked about during the process with big rocks leaving the process, the chloride study coming up. When we started that, we increased our staff, and I think our staff has stayed the same. Is that correct?
Stayed relatively stable. Don't remember the exact staff count from the beginning of the chloride study to the end. We did have one individual who was dedicated to actually doing all of our field work for the chloride study. He left for another opportunity that had nothing to do with our budgets.
Well, the salary was dropping, so I mean, somebody had to leave, but.
We have had, due to some deeply unfortunate circumstances, and then some retirements, and some who've left their position, just a few changes.
Staffing hadn't changed and the salary was down, that's all I heard. So that hadn't changed and the salary was down, so that didn't fit, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so we have positions that are not currently filled, so hopefully we'll be able to fill those in the future. And I think we're trying to determine, for instance, Libby did many different jobs at the commission, trying to determine how to best fulfill all the different roles she played. I don't know if you want to explain the current way that we're doing that, but we're still evaluating, like, how do we actually do human resources? How do we do the financial oversight? How do we do all the other things? She was essentially the person who oversaw decisions about the building, so that nature facility. So we have to determine how we're going to do that long term in the future. Currently, we are working with some consultants to help us out in the short term.
That's a quick question. A couple of years ago, I think there was a tenant in the building.
Correct.
And what is the prospects? There's no revenue. What are the prospects for renting out the excess space? Is that a meaningful potential number?
It is not included in the budget as a revenue, the $71,518 that you see on table 4, listed as part of our budget in 2026. That's zeroed out in 2027. So that is our forecast of, okay, we've watched the office market, we've had this building space available for lease, for the duration. and we're not seeing a lot of bites. So let's be realistic about what we think 2027 could bring, which is zero. However, that does not mean we'll sit back and idly wait. We will be addressing that topic with the executive committee in the months ahead.
Correct. Go ahead.
Two questions again related to the reserve fund, please. One is, where do those reserve funds live? Is it in a traditional savings account or an investment account? Is that anything you can share?
Yes, and you will see in subsequent agenda item a little bit of a note about that. And specifically, the largest portion of our reserves remains in the state of Wisconsin's local government investment pool.
And the current status of, is that in the treasurer's report, how much funding is there?
Yes, and we base it throughout the year now and in future reports on the audited cash and cash equivalents as of the end of 2025. And that's just about at 7 and nearly just shy of 8.
Thank you.
The certain services that we are mandated that we will continue to provide to some of the communities in Washington County, are there any revenues attached? Do we, are we getting compensated from somewhere for those activities?
Yes, so would you like to speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. So we had a service fee schedule that was updated and in late 2024, went into effect in early 2025. Since then, we've made several modifications. So the last one was to get at just what you're talking about. So there are a few of our, in particular, services I would call services at request. So we do a lot of different things, comprehensive plans, et cetera, that are considered unavailable to Washington County and communities within Washington County right now. However, in areas such as water quality planning, where we are still the designated water quality planning agency for the Washington County area, we do have a fee to communities such as Village of Jackson to service area plan amendments. Very recently, within the last month or two, that fee was increased for communities within Washington County to be about 3 times what it is communities that are in the other 6 counties. And as well, very importantly, and this is not necessarily the county or communities that are paying these fees, but in the second kind of tier of our reviews, where we're doing those sewer extension reviews, those fees have also been increased basically 3 times what they would be in the other 6 counties. And usually that's going to be, can be a municipality or a county sometimes requesting that, but almost always it's a landowner development team, engineering firm that's requesting those. But yes, we are requesting increased fees for those services in Washington County.
I don't know whether you and Sheriff address this with the county executives, but there is a fear out there that somebody's going to be getting something for free and out of this thing. And so I think that's going to be a question we're going to have to be able to tell county boards as they're reviewing this, that it's addressed by not only what Ben talked about, but that there is somehow or another somebody's getting something for free. That's.
And big best visual you may have received in the mail recently as an enclosure with a letter, and that is our service fee schedule as of April 20th. That service fee schedule is not the whole of the commitment for the region. Undertake regional planning that does not show up in the service fee schedule. However, these are the services we provide that require a supplemental fee, and hence why they're in that schedule. So with that schedule, the column that now covers requests for those types of services within Washington County, almost all of them, except the services that now have increased fees for our area-wide water development planning agency designation. All of the others either say unavailable within Washington County or not applicable. And so that is where that there is not something being offered within Washington County for free or following non-payment. We can't make those services available to them because we don't have the funds to be staffed.
I'd like to point out 2 items on table 3 that were brought up. The salaries, obviously, there's a significant drop of over 300,000, and then consultant fees. Stephanie or Ben, can you explain the consultant fees and that significant drop there?
Yes, I can, and then I'll also try to address additional questions. So the major change in consultant fees would be based on work limit. So for example, in 2026, where this should be allocated in consultant fees, the provider of the imagery flying is a $500,000 contract. So that would be.
Thank you. Other questions? Any further comment from staff?
No, the motion has to be, right?
Right,
I call for a roll call.
roll call vote? Okay. Second, if you need to be. So you're making a motion? Second, Commissioner Johnson. Roll call vote, we'll call our vice chair who is online. Are you present?
Yes. Aye.
Okay. Aye, okay. Commissioner Minkle Demit.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. That is a unanimous vote in favor for budget adoption for 2027. Thank you. Item 8 is consideration of the treasurer's report. You had received an updated treasurer's report with the correct date and statement of revenue and expenditures. Go ahead, Stephanie, you're done.
I can read the treasurer's report on the as is customary, this report has been delivered verbally verbatim. So I will. This report is for the financial period ending May 31st, 2020. As such, it represents the financial status of the commission for 2026 through reporting period number 5. Number 1, based upon disbursements through the 31st, 2026, it is projected that total disbursements this year will be approximately 10.29 million. Revenues are projected at about 10.19 million, exclusive of interest income and miscellaneous. The commission reserves policy indicates a minimum reserve amount of $4,985,434, with a maximum reserve amount of $10,870,868. The audited cash and cash equivalents at year end 2025 are at $7,926,424. 3, as of May 31st, 2026, the commission had investments in cash on hand of approximately 8.9 million. Just over 8.09 million was invested in the state of Wisconsin local government pooled investment fund or investment pool. As of May 31st, 2026, that fund was yielding 3.69% interest. Other funds are held in savings, checking, and certificate of deposit accounts at several banks. That being the case, that is the treasurer's report, and I will note that there are 2 pages that follow, one with a summary table of revenues and disbursements, and then page 2 with notes. I will point out that the audited cash and cash equivalents on page 2 in the notes is as end of year 2025. You will see 24 listed. That is end of year 2025. And for reference, both those. Excellent.
Amazing 2025.
Excellent. So I hope your
You are.
copy does say 2025.
Excellent.
So then that is my version with forward action that I am retrieving. So that said, what isn't listed in the notes on page 2, but I will point out because it has been a question by executive committee and elsewhere. The comparison to the audited cash and cash equivalents as of the end of year 2024, that was in the 4 million range. So between our audit for 2024 and our audit for 2025, our audited cash and cash equivalents did resume being within the range of our reserves policy. So I'd like to point that out for you, and that would conclude our report.
Correct. And a quick comment on the reserves policy. Does our executive committee review that policy annually for adjustments for high and low?
It has not been annually paid. The reserves policy was established in 2022, and therefore it is due to be revisited. And leadership staff has that on the list of reports.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You said audited cash, I don't, what do you mean, is this audited by an outside firm? What did you say audited?
Yes, I by Nelson, firm Clifton Larson Allen completed the 2025 audit.
Very good. Is there a motion to accept this report? Commissioner Young, a second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Next up is item 9, consideration of revisions to commission bylaws. Before we have presentation and then some questions and conversation, I just want to point out that we are in our uncharted territory with a county withdrawing from the commission. We have worked with our attorney, we have worked with Washington County, and we remain open to continued conversations to perhaps have them rejoin someday. But as our executive director mentioned, effective today, Washington County has officially withdrawn through the resolution last fall. And so we have worked with our attorney, we have worked through the bylaws and conversations, and the number one thing that we wanted to remain constant was that we are southeastern Wisconsin. There is a region. Washington County is within that region. And we wanted to find a way that there was still that participation in those 3 designations. So even though Washington County has officially withdrawn, we wanted to still have some representation. We found a way through the bylaws, and that's what's being brought forward here this evening. I will turn it over to Stephanie and Ben to continue.
Okay. Let me first acknowledge that you would have first received, say for 2 of you, would have first received the amendments proposed to the bylaws via mail. And we subsequently emailed the bylaws amendments proposed to commissioners. They were not included in the packets because they were previously provided to you in those formats. We also do have additional print copies of the bylaws amendments today. So with that, I recognize you may have questions or don't have the full reference point in front of you. And so we can talk through any questions you have based on that. That being the case, the proposed bylaws fall under 2 areas of focus. One is what Chair Crowley already relayed, which is changes to commission composition that are funneling from the change that Washington County has made in its regional planning commission participation. The second set of changes proposed to the bylaws, thank you, I can point specifically to, it would not be in that set of files, of course. It would, it's in a different folder, so it's not in there. But let me see what I can do about that in one moment. But that said, the second set of changes that were proposed in the bylaws, as proposed for amendment, say, were administrative changes that are reflective of what we know to be current practice for upcoming conditions based on the change in commission composition. So I will pause before I continue speaking just to see if it would aid the commission to have that on screen, the bylaws amendments. And if so, Mr. Chair, we're happy to take a moment just to get those available.
Yes, I think that would be important to have that visual. One more comment is that with that withdrawn county, the 3 representatives that were on the commission are no longer on the commission. So we had a commissioner that had resigned, so that was a vacancy. And then we had 2 other commissioners, Commissioner Schleif and Commissioner Hansen, are no longer commissioners on this commission at this time. As we walk through the bylaws and what is being proposed, there is an opportunity for representation if there was a rejoinment, but those commissioners have ceased becoming or being a commissioner on Regional Planning Commission. Go ahead, Commissioner Tinder.
Just to offer a comment in reviewing the amendments, I just want to give thanks and credit to the staff and the executive team and the attorneys that you work with. As someone just returning back to the commission, I see the strategy employed here with the edits. The language that has been removed administratively would easily allow for Washington to return.
Correct.
So some of the more strict language that lived in the bylaws where specific counties were named or 21 commissioners was a specific number that has been generalized by a vast sum of these edits to allow that flexibility without an additional bylaw change.
Correct. Thank you. Appreciate you recognizing that. Do you have them available?
We do, and what I will note is, if Commissioner Mandel to meet and ensure to have a local copy open in case Zoom disconnects, we will still see what we have on screen. But Commissioner Mandel would not.
Thank you.
So, yes, I think I heard you say thank you.
Yes.
Very good. As we get settled, you should now be able to see on screen, and we may do some squinting of amendments as proposed. And I will summarize along with Ben, remarks, but will not, read verbatim. So on page 1, and Justin, thank you in advance for scrolling and trying to keep pace. Page 1, we did insert if approved, the revised date would be as 17 for today. And there are minor edits on page 2, as just described by Commissioner Kendall Schlicht, in that we removed reference to 21. And we refer now in the bylaws as proposed to commissioners as the full group. Page 3, let's see here. Thank you. So Article 3 is where we will switch over to the memo that is included in the packets. And so for that to be on screen, Justin, if you could please go to the folder with the other files and open the packet, it will be the final bookmark item. The language of Article 3 that you saw in the bylaws as proposed for amendment, you should disregard. Yes, you can open packet. Disregard what you saw for Article 3 and replace it with your consideration of memo language. So it's by the last page. And I will take this opportunity to say what a great reminder this meeting is of the joy of being in person. So I, for one, appreciate the technological limitations remind us of that. Last page of the packet. Oh. Yeah, go back all the way to the bottom.
41.
Okay. The Article 3 that is referenced in the memo in your packets, which many of you have the packet in front of you, but we now have it on screen, is the Article 3 language that we are asking that you consider in place of what was in the bylaws amendments for Article 3. And this has been fully reviewed, and it provides for commission composition following a county withdrawal to have 2 sections. Section 1 is the statutory appointments. So we recognize in these proposed bylaws amendments that we have a continuing obligation under 660309 to receive appointments for commissioners. Section 2 is what is new and also an opportunity for the commission to have involvement in the composition. So regional representation following withdrawal, Upon the withdrawal of one or more counties from participation in the commission, and to the extent not inconsistent with section 660309 of Wisconsin statutes, the commission may appoint not more than 3 additional commissioners to help ensure representation throughout the region. So A through E outlines a general process by which those appointments could be generated and considered. And if bylaws are approved for amendments, then leadership staff will bring forward to executive committee further detail for that process. So the language as shown in A through E is somewhat commensurate with the general nature of section 660309 regarding the appointment process, right? It leaves to the counties and leaves to the governor's office their mechanisms for their step-by-step to procure those appointments. And so too, here would allow leadership staff to help build out a process with further detail in consult with the executive. That said, that is why A says appointments shall be made by the commission upon nomination by the executive. And I would ask that you review B through E, and if you have questions, we can return to those. So if I may ask that Justin toggle back to the bylaws amendments. I will, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, we'll stick with the memo. So with the edits for section 2, A through E, as part of the vetting and review of this language, was any official in the state of Wisconsin government consulted?
No, not directly.
Go ahead.
Will these people have full voting rights? 3 people would have full voting rights on the commission level.
It would be commissioner, correct?
They'd be expected, I'm appointed by the governor and I don't communicate too much, but hardly at all with the county, but I think the other 2 people from Sauk County communicate with the county or they're on the county board. But these people would not have we wouldn't say to them, we'll go talk to the county board about this or anything like that. They would just be voting members. I'm just asking how it would work, you know.
Again, we'll remind everyone that this is new.
Yeah.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah.
And we are going to work on details after the bylaws would be approved. Our attorney, who has worked with us diligently on this, has recommended this pathway as well. Because again, we want to maintain a relationship in southeastern Wisconsin of all 7 counties. This allows that opportunity to do that. I'll stop at that.
And I should ask Commissioner Tindall, if you could restate your question, because I think I may have interpreted one of your words with a different individual or set of individuals.
I just want to understand who's reviewed this. I mean, there's a level with a change of this nature. I'm going to be very precise. So with a change of this nature to how Sewer PAC is operated from a committee for a very long time, there's going to be multiple people that are interested in how we proceed politically and publicly.
Right.
The essence of my question is, are you comfortable that numerous checks have been taken place, or is there going to be a public conversation around what is happening here? And I'll say it another way. What I hear what the chair is saying around this allows us to make sure that our former county representatives still can be at the table in a different way. But the way I interpret this language is there's nothing from stopping that those 3 representatives, let's say Racine County left one day. There's no stopping, there's nothing in that language that indicates to me that the new 3 representatives have to be from former county participant Racine. They could just be from Ozaukee. So if the goal is to maintain a presence and a visibility for representatives of the Washington County community within Sewer PAC, I'm not sure this amended language gets there because there's nothing stopping us as a commission from saying all 3 of those people could be from Milwaukee.
Can I speak to that now?
Go ahead.
I appreciate your expansion. When you asked, and I believe it was something about if government officials have been consulted and they said no, not directly, I then thought, oh, I was thinking about specific appointing bodies. And if they have been directly consulted by me or by the chair. Going to the essence of your question as expanded. So the opportunity is very squarely in that the commission composition are representatives of the region when appointed by the commission. They do not have to be from one area withdrawn, because that area withdrawn has stated very clearly that they are not interested in participating in the regional planning commission. So it's very intentional to leave that with the opportunity for this body from the executive committee to the full commission to say, there's somebody in the region in southeastern Wisconsin who is motivated to participate in discussions about regional cooperation. Doesn't matter where they might reside. So that may be one answer to the question.
Commissioner Young.
Mr. Chair, has any consideration been given to the matter of being an ex officio member? I would be concerned about a non-paying county having the same amount of governing authority as those who are participating counties. So I understand the intent of making sure that all parts of the region are represented, and this is a way to continue there to be a voice for this particular county, in this instance, to have a seat at the table. But has there been any consideration about like their voting authority as a member of the commission?
I will let you respond to that.
Yes.
After our consultation with our attorney.
Yes, as drafted, you see that these commissioners, if appointed to this body, would have the same opportunities afforded in the bylaws to other commissioners. And that could change in the form of future bylaws amendments.
Commissioner Johnson, then Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I'm trying to think back to the executive committee, and there's a lot of discussion that went on at the executive committee, and then there was work that needed to be done beyond the executive committee. But my recollection of discussion, please correct me if I'm off base, but that there are communities in Washington County and others that did want to remain within the commission, have the county remain. And this would be a great opportunity to go out, and if there is a representative, and under this, there's three, but West Bend and perhaps Jackson and one other community within the county to go out, reach out and work on representation that way from the local communities. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes, you are. And do you remember how many were there? 3 that officially had conversations and a vote in the community?
Let me confirm that West Bend, Slinger, Hartford.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to, indicate that's where we go, but I think it was to keep people within Washington County involved in the process.
Yes, and you'll note that in Article 3 and those appointees having the backgrounds that would be preferable for success and working within the commission parameters, that's very important. So the vetting process through the executive committee as they come through us, and then approval at the commission. Now, again, we're going down a different path we have never in 65 years have done. And it's defensible to do what we are doing. We are providing a pathway to still have that representation by those communities within a county or outside of Washington County, but also leaving that door open for them to rejoin. And there is still that possibility. And then, of course, we would come back and revisit the bylaws. So this has been one of the it's been challenging, but it's been fun in a way, trying to find a way in a very positive sense. It's been fun trying to have representation in southeastern Wisconsin. Just because a county has withdrawn does not mean that they're still not part of the region.
So this regional cooperation that we want, the collaboration, the future for those municipalities in Washington County is vitally important. And we have done our due diligence to find the best possible outcome in a short period of time, given the circumstances that were presented before us that have never been presented to this commission. So I'm very proud of how we've gotten to this point, and a lot of work has gone into this. We've spent a lot of time with an attorney in consultation, and I give a lot of kudos to our executive director that has also helped facilitate the conversations with our attorney. And I will also mention that our vice chair, Natalia Nickel-Demit, has been very involved in this process as well. So I will turn it back over to Stephanie and then more questions.
Perhaps if we're still on the memo and that's not being started, we should address other questions before we talk back to the developments. Okay. Great.
Go ahead.
Does SewerPAC have a legal obligation to pass this today?
Not legal, it just leaves us minus 3 commissioners. And of course, without the call of the chair having a special meeting of the commission, our next full commission meeting isn't until September. And we are trying to address this since Washington County is no longer. So there isn't a legal obligation, but a lot of work has been put into getting us to this point. And now we do have a pathway. That how fast we move through this is undetermined. We do not need to aggressively seek 3 new commissioners over the next couple months. And with this, obviously Washington County will be interested in what the outcome is now that they've officially withdrawn, effective today. They may hold a special session. They may have a conversation on the county board level and reconsider joining. And that door is open. We've had a few meetings prior to this that we answered their questions. But the outcome was that we still had not received the charge payment. The other 6 counties had on a regular basis. They had been making that payment. They had their opportunity to make that payment till now, and we still have not received that payment. Go ahead, Commissioner O'Hara. Oh, messenger. Yeah.
I just, what I learned today, I appreciate all the work that's done, but it doesn't make sense to me that these members should be ex officio because their counties aren't paying. And I just think that could open the door to criticism of approval of a budget or something like that. The second thing is, I think it should say Washington County, or the removal of whatever the county that left. If we had ex officio members and they couldn't vote, to me, that would be cleaner. And I appreciate all the thought, but that's just what I'm persuaded. We would accomplish the same thing without getting dragged into, well, who were these guys to vote on my budget, and.
Go ahead and answer that. That's
To perhaps assist in keeping us rooted in the language proposed for these commissions. So our Metropolitan Planning Organization has language in CFR and federal regulations about composition. And at the area-wide water quality planning agency designation, which lives within NR 121 in administrative code, there are references to board composition. And we did, in consult with our legal, review those sections of language as well, and have concluded that it is important to maintain the board composition of the total number of commissioners for the time being, to assist the continuing work under those designations. So more simply put, maintaining at 21 at this time assists those other designations. As to them being explicitly from a certain portion of the region, that is less so of concern. So we would like to support those designations by having 21 commissioners, and the opportunity being that 3 commissioners could now be from the region, and maybe the process by which the executive committee considers those appointees to bring to the full commission has an emphasis on from the Washington County area. And that's something that can be deliberated in executive committee following the review of the language here today. Would they be ex officio members? That would change the way that the voting process works. And I think that would be a more difficult task to push through and maintain the other two designations. Ben, would you have anything to add to that? This is an important topic for those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't want to dive into, a lot of the specifics, but we would potentially avoid having to go through a redesignation as an MPO if we maintain our 21 voting members.
Well, how about, you've got 3 designations, what if you make them, I mean, I'm just brainstorming here, but. Could you say that they're ex officio for the sewer, for the, whatever we're calling the third one, the sewer, the southeast.
The Regional Planning Commission.
And not the other 2. I mean, I'm just trying to make things simpler, you know, I don't know, to me. I'm just asking if that's a.
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Yep.
And then Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bringing forward information to the commission meeting was something that came out of the executive committee, and there's a lot happening fast here. Is there a different initial step? I'm just listening to the comments here. Is there a different initial step that could take place utilizing this and trying to solicit or seek representation while we work through and whatever we need to do to approve it?
I have an idea, sir, and I wanted to, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Madam Executive Director. Substantially, as I said at the beginning, the edits that have been recommended are administrative and I think a very strong effort to make sure that our operational status as a regional planning organization are addressed in this great new world that we face as of today.
Right.
However, I think some of the questions that my fellow commissioners have raised today is substantially related to the language presented in Article 3. So to Commissioner Johnson's point, I'm wondering if we could take a bold step forward in amending the proposal. And what I mean there is approving, and we're going to hear more from the executive director about the administrative edits. Approving all of the administrative edits proposed in the bylaw packet, less the Article 3 memo supplement, as we continue to identify what the ex officio or not type relationship could be to flush out that sort of extra 3 structure while still moving forward substantially with some bylaw changes today as we step forward. That's one idea I'm having under Robert's rules that I wanted to put out there for commissioners to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to all my fellow commissioners as well, I guess I had 2 challenges, and probably the first one's a question. So if we vote, we allow this to happen and we stay at 21, and we bring in 2 members that are not appointed in the traditional manner, but are appointed now by the commission, and Washington County comes in, are those people relieved of their commission, or are now going to be going to additional members from Washington County?
Item E, in the memo references upon the re-entry of a previously withdrawn county as a participating county in the commission shall review the continued necessity of appointments authorized under this section and may amend these bylaws.
Well, I would object to may. We either have to have in the language that we will amend and stay at 21. I would object.
So I'm trying to, is that this is trying to be too inclusive without being decisive.
Exactly. You're trying to bring, I understand trying to bring other people in with their expertise and maintaining the MPO status, but we are at 21 and your logic to stay at 21 is, while that's good, I have several challenges with that, both from the Robert's Rules of Order, secondly, from just procedural, and some of the language is quite honestly a little squishy. So that we need to be a little bit more formidable in terms of what are we trying to accomplish here? And if we're trying to maintain a relationship with Washington County, then we should at least have the language say that, that if there's gonna be one or two members addition of the 21 from Washington County to maintain that relationship, we need to state that and not just dance around that. Secondly, I would want in the language that those members, we want to maintain the relationship, but without payment, they should not have voting capacity. I just would get that just doesn't make any sense as far as why we're all here doing the jobs we are, and as our counties are paying for us really to participate. And I love relate. I understand those people, and I enjoy the idea of having a relationship, but I do not want to dilute the members who are here, who have stuck with the commission and are going to be here making decisions based on what we all have as our responsibility.
We'll address that comment question after Commissioner Young.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Commissioner Decker for that. I agree with his comments wholeheartedly. I have a question about the content of the federal guidance or MPOs regarding representation. Does that federal circular illustrate what that representation looks like? Do we even have the authority to say what those voting rights look like if this were something prescribed by federal statute?
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Following evaluation of legal, the conclusion was this as presented in the memo. It addresses the CFR and it addresses administrative code as well as 6609.
So then what we would probably prefer, which is that these folks have ex officio status, may not be within the bounds of federal guidance.
We would have to take that question back and review it.
So again, one of the questions was in regards to the MPO and the area-wide fire quality management designation, those two designations. If we did not vote on the full bylaw amendment, how will that impact those two designations and what risks are we at, expense and on and on?
And so the larger issue may be, Ryan, I don't know if you want to provide any insights you may have, but one of the things that we may risk if we are not a 21 member board, for lack of a better term, is having to go through the MPO redesignation process. So that is something that we would want to avoid.
But then wouldn't we want then to the MPO, what you pointed out, or what Ryan pointed out was, then we'd want specific people from City of West Bend, people that we're actually responsible for to be on the board.
That may be a way to think about it. Maybe I think what I've been hearing from the chair is that what we're trying to accomplish tonight, and we may have to revisit some of the language that is being proposed to do that, but we're trying to accomplish tonight is that basically include a framework within the bylaws where staff and executive committee could work through, okay, now who should be the appropriate representatives? And it certainly may be a conversation on, okay, so who is representing the needs of the MPO, and does there need to be somebody from, like you said, West Bend or Hartford, whoever it is? And the same may be for the water quality designation too. Do we need somebody from Washington County, and should that be somebody that would be representative of a wastewater treatment plant operator, for example, which again could be Washington County, or I'm sorry, not Washington County, could be West Bend, or it could be Hartford, or one of the municipalities that has wastewater treatment plant. So those are all things I think that we would try to work through once we have an overall kind of framework within the bylaws to allow us to get to that more detailed work. Is that a good summary?
Yes, it is.
And who is actually at risk if the MPO is not valid? Does it affect sewer pack, or does it affect the participating sewer treatment plant or whatnot? Because if it falls on Washington County municipalities or sewer districts or whatnot, that they need to understand the consequence of what they did, and I don't want to smooth the rough edges off.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of a rough way, I don't mean it that aggressively, but.
Absolutely, and you know, I know we don't
Make it
provide more
easy for
detail, but what could happen if we move to redesignation, we might actually have to have a regional planning commission and a separated policy board for our MPO status, and I know that could turn into 4 policy boards. 3 or 4, we have, if we start having an MPO policy board for the Milwaukee urbanized area, for the Racine urbanized area, for the Kenosha urbanized area, then do we participate in around the beach, governance body in some way too, so it could get complicated in that way, and that's, we could have more. It's kind of where, that is our, an unknown right now, but maybe possibility.
Thank you, Chair. Echoing some of the other questions that were raised by fellow commissioners. I had some specific questions, some of which have been addressed, some of which have not yet been discussed in regards to Article 3. So I just wanted to second the proposal put forward by Commissioner Tyndall about to see if it's possible to potentially separate out that article and then still pass changes made to this one, so that we could just ensure that there's sufficient alignment before moving forward. I wonder if there's a compromise that's possible that would allow us to then retain MPO status. In the meantime, we'll work that out.
Commissioner Crowley, and seeing where we are going in the discussion, and also recognizing we're at a point where I could make a recommendation for your consideration.
Go ahead.
To make that recommendation, I should state we, as of the date effective of Washington County withdrawal, met as a board. So the commission has not shown a delay in proceeding in earnest with maintaining its board composition. I think that is a message that leadership staff can very easily convey to our 2 other designation partners. That said, so if the revised amendments exclude the new Article 3 in full, they would also exclude 2 items. So there would be 3 changes for this body to consider. So I'll recommend to you, Chair Crowley, for your discussion with the board. The first would be the removal of Article 3 as proposed. We'll set that aside. The second would be on page 6 of the bylaws amendments. That is, I believe, what is really Article 4, Section 10B, the Intergovernmental and Public Business Committee. The change of or in case of the region and all text that follows the red would be set aside as well. So that would be excluded from the amendments. And the third that would be, and final that would be excluded would be on page 7, sub D, non-ADHD. We would exclude the addition of /region. Those would be the 3 things that would be set aside, and otherwise the amendments as shown would be considered for your approval.
I have a question then for you, Executive. So the Intergovernmental Public Relations Committee section B, you're saying that you want to take that out as well?
The additional text in red that begins with or in the case of the region would not be a change included in these amendments.
They could be included again in the future upon future consideration of the proposed memo 3 language. Thank you.
Do that.
Our lawyer, did he have an input in the
Yes, he did. Honestly, did.
He reviewed this, the whole thing? Yes. He reviewed it and he gave you his opinion, this was the right thing to do?
The right thing to do, not necessarily the right thing to do, the best path moving forward, effective the day that we had our commission meeting and with Washington County withdraw. This was an option. This is something, again, this is not something we've ever dealt with before. There's really nobody else to talk to. We are moving in a direction to accomplish a few things, and of course, those other 2 designations.
And we wanted to have that opportunity to have the full commission have an opportunity to have input on this. And we have done this very aggressively, which we're proud of. Go ahead.
I'd be happy to have a Zoom meeting if you work on this for a couple of weeks and have some other ideas. It's not a big deal to get together by Zoom. And we could do something else, you know, so wait 3 months, you know, we're all big boys, we're big people, we can all get on Zoom and talk about this for 20 minutes and then go on our way.
Like to speak in a moment, Commissioner Johnson, but our executive director had a proposal of those three. And what are your thoughts of that? Of that removal? Does that address the concerns?
Get it back to this quickly, we don't have to wait 3 months, we can get back when you're ready, try something, here's another idea. Okay, we heard you, here's something else.
Thank you.
I apologize to staff and to my fellow commissioners, first meeting back in a couple of years, and I just decided to jump right in. But I think what has been presented is a really thoughtful way of balancing some of the concerns that we've raised while still taking the step forward. And I echo what my fellow commissioner said about let's move forward as quickly as possible to resolve the proposed Article 3 language that was submitted in memo form, the other supplements that were included in this removable amendment. I share that sentiment. We're ready to go and resolve this as quickly as possible, because the last thing we're trying to do is threaten the status, the ability of this organization to operate to its full capacity.
Thank you. And again, no need to apologize. Appreciate the feedback and that collaboration. Commissioner Johnson, you have a comment?
Listening to all the comments here and questions, could I put a motion on the floor that moves to allow the commission chair, executive committee, and executive staff to seek potential representation to cover Washington County while communication and vetting of the draft bylaw changes take place? B, seeking to finalize the bylaw update on or before the next commission meeting.
That doesn't address the removal of the three items, which would be Article 3 and the other two that Stephanie had presented.
I would also be concerned about outreach to Washington County, potential membership before we have our ducks.
Right.
But I do appreciate the sentiment because we got to move on this.
So there was a motion, official motion.
I can table it, withdraw it, whatever is gonna help us move the process along.
I would encourage the withdraw at the time.
Okay, I will withdraw the motion.
Okay. We went back to the original, and Stephanie, if you can repeat again, what would be removed?
Yes.
Article 3
Yes.
in full.
So, as a staff member, I will say to you, Mr. Chair, that a motion could be considered with language incorporating the motion to approve those bylaws, subject to the exclusion of the new Article 3. And then page 6, language in item B.
Regarding intergovernmental and public relations.
Region, yep. And then page 7, sub D, removal / region.
I will make that motion.
Thank you.
I don't think you need to add move quickly to a motion. Move as quickly as you can as a motion to start. So I agree with the motion.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, you have that language.
What is the motion? You read the motion.
To approve the bylaws amendments with the exclusion of 3 items as stated.
And she just stated which the most significant is Article 3. We'll work through that. We'll continue working with the attorney, executive committee, and so forth. So we have a motion and a second.
Just a question on this, the fact that one appointee has always been the purview of the governor. we don't address that at all in here at all. Should that be part of the discussion? Do we need to address that?
I will answer that. Going back to late last year and right before Christmas, I was in contact with the governor's office several times about this. And this is again uncharted territory. There's never been a withdrawal, and they were actually seeking our guidance on what we were going to do. Accurate. Hopefully that answers your question. So yes, I was personally, as chair, in communication with the governor.
And when that line of communication is open, that's good enough for me, so.
What was the third item that you had on there?
We would
Item.
we would not amend page 7, sub D on
Sub.
screen. We would not amend / region.
The okay, / region. Thank you.
Right. We have a motion and a second. Any further comment?
Okay, then on section 11, transit representation responsibilities. I'm trying to parse through it since you got the lines all crossed out. So what are you saying the transit representation responsibilities are? If we're deleting the front part of that?
Yes, thank you. So the struck text is followed by a replacement. And that replacement is commissioners appointed by their county board shall have the responsibility to help ensure that the needs and concerns of the public transportation systems and so on. We included the comment, and I thank the leadership staff for retrieving our 2014 commission meeting minutes, because you can see the intent was for the commissioners appointed by the county board to have a responsibility in these bylaws, which is right, because these are our bylaws.
Correct.
Not to assign a county executive and or county board supervisors a responsibility
Right.
in our bylaws. So this is correcting for that.
So the county board commissioners were appointed by the county board would make basically our would be our transit representation.
Correct. This addresses the original intent.
Yeah, that was, I remember that from the original, trying to put the regional transit commission together. There.
Okay, it's Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chair, does this give Stephanie and Ben and the commissioners the opportunity to talk with people in the individual counties about their input on this? So we're trying to build some consensus here, and perhaps reaching out to the Attorney General's office and the governor's office about the same.
I would have addressed I would have the chair address that.
Yes, it would give us an opportunity, though I would advise not engaging in continual conversation about it individually. As we continue to move through this, we're fluid, the bylaws are fluid. We're trying to be flexible, but we're also trying to determine what that best path is. And I don't want to have any confusion out in the public with this. So though it is being discussed publicly here at our annual meeting, and it's a public meeting, we are still navigating through this, and the executive committee will take this up. We will have continued conversation with our attorney, and then we will seek additional input from perhaps county government in the other 6 counties and how we can move forward. So
That gets at what I was
thank you.
asking.
I'm glad you brought that question up, because as you walk away, when you're out in the community and you're asked what's going on, you need to have some sort of a response. And what I would also advise, whenever you have those types of questions, try not to answer it too in depth and refer it back to the chair or to the executive director, so we don't get too scattered in our communications. Our Intergovernmental and Public Relations Committee, when we begin meeting, we have held off holding that meeting because we needed to get through this process first, out of advisement in several ways, not only from our executive director, myself, and our attorney. But this is a topic that can be discussed potentially in that intergovernmental and public relations commission or committee.
If I may, to that, Mr. Chair. From a PR standpoint only, I think it's good that we are contemplating these changes, but that we need to really ruminate them on a bit. And because a bit of, since it just happened officially in Washington County today, a little cooling off period would not hurt. There should be some repercussions in the public. Some repercussions.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any last comments before I call a vote? And we'll do a roll call vote.
I would just say one comment as a compliment to the commission. I've been on some boards where you've micromanaged staff and it feels like a very intense experience. I've been on other boards where they're cathartic and it seems like staff are alone. This has been a very productive and I think collaborative discussion where we've taken what I think is a very strong product, had a good discussion that's thoughtful, doing our duties as representatives of our county, of the regions. And I think we've got a better product because of it. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Young.
Could you read the motion one more time?
I will have our executive director or a motion. Who's got that?
To approve the bylaws as amended with the exclusion of 3 items as stated.
Okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner Minkle Demit, I'll start with you.
I,
Thank you.
Aye.
I as amended.
I,
Yes.
Aye.
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 I,
Very good. Unanimously approved as amended. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Ben. And thank our attorney as well for the diligent work that we put forth on this. Okay, that brings us to
dinner.
almost, we're almost there.
Getting there.
Correspondence and announcements.
I did ask Ben one item of announcements, so I will delay on his behalf that we did see the commission staff member, Adam Schumacher, receive an APA for the American Planning Association Wisconsin Chapter Student Award. I do not presently have those details, but we can converse with Mr. McKay later on today or in the days ahead about the details of that award. So congratulations to Mr. Schumacher and our nation. Then the second item from me is just a reminder, there is no June executive committee meeting next week. So do not join us in the office next Thursday for that meeting. It is not happening. And then the final would be regarding where we are going next. That is Artisan 179. That is 179 West Wisconsin Street. About 15 minutes down the way, right to assist.
The only thing I can
That
say,
is what I would.
yeah, it's to that, it's right down towards the lake. The parking is on the other side of the building. An alleyway next to it on the back side, and then you'll see an alleyway next to it will be blocked off. So parking is on, will be the north side of that building.
And
There's big parking lots.
thank you. And by the time you get in your car and you go there, it's about 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes. So don't confuse it with 10 minutes. It's 3 to 4 minutes. As you make a left turn, there'll be 2 lefts. As you make those 2 lefts, the first opportunity to make the next left, you'll see the beach on the right. That's where you enter to go in the parking in the back area. If you go beyond that, you're gonna need to go all the way down to the next stop sign, go back around, and now that.
Actually, if you go out here,
Oh,
yeah, we are on this side of the
I'm on the
downtown.
wrong side.
You're on the wrong side.
map.
Yeah.
Just follow your map.
I'm sorry, Mike, if you go out of here, you take a left out of here, you
Yeah,
go up and
that's
take a right. You go down Main Street, you'll see Main Street, number of restaurants. Artisan is just right for a big parking, take a right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last thing on the correspondence announcements comes from me. I just want to give thanks to Stephanie, our executive director, and our staff. Ben, thank you. Ryan, thank you. Our leadership, Eric, who is here, Chris, who is on vacation, and of course, Justin, thanks for handling the technical difficulties we've had. But our staff has been working very well together. I am in touch with our executive director on a regular basis, and I have actually visited Sewerpack several times since our last meeting, and they're working very well together as a team. Of course, we've had some changes, unfortunate, and a retirement, and they've really come together and have worked very well together. Again, under tight deadlines, we got through our audit with no issues and presented a budget, and thank you for approving that. But the kudos go to our staff for working and coming together during some very challenging times. And I don't want that to be forgotten because it is very stressful. We still have our work to do at the commission office. And they're all very proud, engineers, on in the commission office, they're very proud of what they do. And I think having strong support from the commission and having a chair that is present there, that conduit is very important. They feel more comfortable with what has been going on. At this transition from a county withdrawing was concerning because what's that mean for us? And so I'm just very proud of what we've been able to accomplish over the past 6, 8, 10 months. So thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Ryan, and we're back to go.
Well, thank you for your leadership. There you go.
Well, thank you. So the favorite motion of the day.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Bell. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 5:45.